What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Steven Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. What's going on, everybody? Once again, my name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel, and this is the sports channel for the cerebral NFL fan. Hey guys, I apologize for my absence of recently. I know I've been gone for about 4 or 5 days. I got Philly Mike out there putting an APB out on me, trying to make sure I'm okay. Guys, I promise you, I talked to Philly Mike last night. We kind of talked a little bit. I told him what was going on. I'm back. I apologize. I had a little family situation, had helped my in-laws move in. You guys know how that stuff goes, man. I mean, my in-laws are, they're older. They're in their 70s now, so it takes a young guy like me to kind of help pick and lift and move all their stuff. So that took a few days, guys. So I kind of had to lay off the videos for a little bit. The good news is our in-laws, basically moving here. It's going to help me out a lot because, my mother-in-law is going to help a lot out with my eBay business, which is going to help me free up more time to do research and to kind of really give more time and effort to this, which is a pretty exciting thing for me personally. So sorry, guys, for my absence. I am back, and guess what? We're still going to keep rolling with these corners. The good thing about having this 3 or 4 day lapse, guys, is I got a lot of questions that rolled in. If I haven't answered your question yet, guys, just remain patient. I promise you, everyone who left a comment or a question, I'm going to get to you guys. I promise you. All right. So today's video, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the free agent, and I'm sorry, not free agent, but some of the corners that it would be a possibility maybe for the Eagles to trade for. So who might be a corner that the Eagles could target with trade value here? Who might the Eagles try to make a move to go sign? All right, y'all. Let's jump into today's topic.
Which team was the biggest loser at the trade deadline?
It was the Philadelphia Eagles. And
All right, guys. We all remember the clamor. We all remember all the chatter that was, circling this past season's trade deadline. I mean, a lot of talk about Jalen Ramsey, a lot of talk about, Dory Jackson, several other cornerbacks, right? You heard Stephen, A. Smith say that he felt the Eagles were the biggest losers of the trade deadline. I don't agree. I think the value got a little too expensive. I think we needed a wide receiver, absolutely. I think we could have probably used a defensive back, but I think the asking price for receivers and for corners got a little too high. Although I will admit, I probably would have, if I could have gotten a deal in place with Robbie Anderson, knowing that that could have been worked out, I probably would have given up a second for Robbie Anderson personally. But with that said, the values did get high. You had teams like the Patriots who completely tried to destroy the markets to stop competition from rolling in by overpaying for people. Um, you know, we had other situations with other guys that we're going to cover today where I don't think the value would have been right. Like you're not going to get a first round pick for some of these guys. That they're not young enough, and they're not. To be quite honest, when you look at the advanced analytics on them, they're not as good as their reputation, precedes them to be. Um, with that said, over the course of these last like 4 to 5 days, guys, there's three guys who keep popping up over and over again on my radar about, this idea of could we make a trade for these guys? Do you think these guys are good enough? And I'm going to cover that today, guys. So the three guys that are repeatedly being asked to me about are Chris Harris Jr., Darius Slay, and Logan Ryan. I have a lot more corners on this list, guys, of possible trade targets, but I'm going to have to break this up probably into 2 to 3 parts just because it's too much to cover in one video, guys. There's too much detail that goes into these, and I don't want to make these into 50-minute videos because it's just hard for you guys to keep pace with me that long. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to break down the first three groups. I'm going to break down this group that is probably the fan favorites. They're the one that we hear the most clamoring for, right? Which is Chris Harris Jr., Darius Slay, and Logan Ryan. So let's get into the advanced analytics on these guys, and let's talk about what do they add? I mean, how would this shape the Eagles roster by adding one of these players? All right, y'all. Let's jump into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we talk, I want to break down what I look for in these advanced analytics. So what am I personally looking for to make judgments on these people? I think all the numbers I'm going to give to you are important. That's why I'm giving them to you. But there are about 6 of these that stand out to me that really help me judge what I think about the person, what I think about the player. So number one, the target rate. Your target rate should be low 25%, or that basically means quarterbacks are fairly comfortable throwing the ball at you. So the further you are above 25% and the lower you are below 25% tells me about how often a quarterback looked at your side of the field and said, that's the guy I want to target. Your routes defended. I'm not too stingent upon if they don't have a 300 or more, but in order to feel comfortable with what you're seeing as being a generalized trend and to have confidence projecting for the season that comes next, I think you need to see at least 300 routes. The guy's got to at least defend 300 routes to be confident in what you're saying. That's the problem with Sidney Jones. I think the analytics are very strong on him. I just wish he had played a little more so we had a better feel for what we have. I think there's a lot of promise. I think the kid has talent, but we're gonna have to see if he puts it together. I got faith that he's gonna put it together this upcoming season, but there's not a lot of film. There's not a lot of routes he's defended to really feel too strongly in your opinion about him. Target separation. To me, you want to be right around that 1 or less. If you're giving up more than a yard of separation, it generally tells me you're either struggling to identify like a zone or you're struggling with athleticism or your mechanics have breakdowns in it. It's the only reason you should be getting a lot of separation. Or, I mean, you could look to say, well, sometimes it might just be due to competition. Maybe they just had to play a really rough slate of games. That could be true too. So, target separation. I do look there to see if it's a 1 or below. Passer rating. Generally speaking, I'd like to see a passer rating below 100. So, opposing quarterbacks should have passer ratings below 100 on you if you're a solid corner. And then your coverage rating. Your coverage rating should be at least a 0 or that break-even point. If you are in the negative, that means you didn't perform well. If you're in the positive, that means you performed pretty well. Obviously, the further you away from 0 on both spectrums tells how good or bad you're playing. All right, y'all. Let's jump into it. Okay, guys. First prospect up on the list here. Possible trade target. Logan Ryan from the Tennessee Titans. He's a 5'11", 191-pound cornerback. He's got 31 3/8 inch, arm length. He's 29 years of age, so he'll be 29 by the conclusion of the season. And he runs a 4.56 40. I'm going to get into this later, but one of the common concerns I have with guys like Logan Ryan is that I'm not too sure he's an outside corner or a slot corner. I'm not too sure the Tennessee Titans, figured that out themselves. And to be honest, I mean, it could just be that he's versatile and he can play inside and outside. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not excited about throwing a guy with 4.56 40 speed on the outside. It just seems like not a major improvement over what we're already facing with Rasul Douglas and what we're facing with, Jalen Mills. I mean, it seems like a similar situation. All right, let's get into some of the specifics about Logan Ryan. His snap shares, 81.9% of plays. So when he was in games, he played in about 81.9% of all snaps. He got a lot of usage, 82% basically. He played 57.4% in the slot, so about 60-40 slot to outside. I don't know that he's the right fit because I think he's more of a slot guy than an outside guy, but I think just like Avonte Maddox, just like Cre'Von LeBlanc, he shows the ability to play both. Targets allowed, 120 or roughly 8 a game. This kid was targeted a lot. You can see that in his target rate, which is 25.8%. In addition to his target rate, guys, his routes defended was 465 or 31 a game. He did defend a lot of routes. There's a lot of film on this kid. I'm not thrilled about the target rate at 25.8% personally. Okay, let's keep going, guys. Target separation, 1.24 yards. That's not the greatest. That's not where you want to see your target separation. Receptions allowed, 76, roughly 5 a game. His yards, 938. So he almost gave up 76. He gave up 76 receptions and nearly 1,000 yards receiving on his own. That's a red flag to me. That's about roughly 62.5 a game, 63 yards a game. He broke up 8 passes. He gave up 5 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I mean, the kid does have some ball skills, don't get me wrong, but giving up 5 touchdowns, surrendering 76 receptions and nearly 1,000 yards, a 1.24 target separate. Like, those are all things that do send up alarm bells to me. Like, I would have to really dive deep on the film on this kid to feel confident because his analytics are not good. His burn rate is 2.5%. I'm not going to knock a 2.5% burn rate because the more aggressive you are as a corner, the more likely you are to have that burn rate. If you're just a guy that plays it safe all the time, you're probably going to have a very low burn rate, like a 0%, but your passer rating and your catch rate is probably going to be through the roof. Catch rate, on that note, 63.3% on his catch rate. Not the greatest. That's not good. It's not horrible, but it's not good either. Passer rating, 106.9. Still, in my opinion, it's a little high. And then his coverage rating is a negative 0.2. So 0.2. You almost broke even. So he's not a horrible defender, but I think you'd be hard pressed to make a case that this guy is a very good to elite level corner. I don't think you can put Logan Ryan in that category. So prospect number 1, Logan Ryan. That's the hard numbers. You guys tell me what you think about Logan Ryan. All right, let's move on to prospect or trade target, not prospect, but trade target number 2. Okay, guys, Chris Harris Jr. Chris Harris Jr.'s physical measurements are 5'9", 194 pounds. He's got 33 and 1/2 inch arms. And I'm sorry about the extra 3 there. It's 33 and 1/2 inch arms. My man's got some. He's got some reach for a small 5'9" guy. I mean, I'll give him that. He's 31 years old. At least he'll be by the completion of next season. He's a little on the older side for corners here. He's short. He's got a little length to him in his arm reach though, and he's a little older. He runs a 4.53 40. Once again, that seems to indicate a guy that's probably better suited for inside than playing outside. But I mean, the kid played a lot on the outside this past year. His snap share. So when he was in games, he came in 94.8% of games. He played a lot, 95% of snaps. That's pretty good. This past season, he was only used about 3% in the slot. The season prior, guys, in 2018, compare that, it was 44%. So I think just like, Logan Ryan, you're going to struggle here to define him as outside or inside. It's one of the problems you'll get with a guy like Chris Harris Jr. Targets allowed, 79 or 5.3 a game. His target rate was 17.6%. This player to me is the most confusing because he'll have these phenomenal stat lines like a 17%, 17.6% target rate. It means quarterbacks respected him. But then the rest of these numbers you're going to see, you're going to be like, what? Wait a minute. How are these numbers this high? It's a head scratcher. He's a hard one to really put your finger on, guys. His routes defended were 448 or 29.9 against a 30 a game. Defended a lot of routes. His target separation, this one shocked me. 1.84 yards, almost 2 yards of target separation. That scares the hell out of me. That's not good, especially for a 31-year-old player. That rung all kinds of alarm bells in my head. Okay, receptions allowed, 51 on the season, or roughly 3 a game, 3.4 a game. I gave up 776 yards, or roughly 51.7 or 52 a game. He broke up 5 passes, gave up 6 touchdowns, another alarm bell to me, and had 1 interception. I think he was much better at playing the ball when he was a few years younger than he is now. He still got the ability to break the pass up, maybe make an interception or 2, but I don't think he's the same player he was 2 or 3 years ago. Burn rate, 1.3%. Pretty respectable, especially for a 31-year-old who's given up 1.84 target separation. I mean, they'll only have a burn rate of 1.3%. I mean, I guess that's good and bad. It means that you didn't give up a couple of plays that just skewed your target rate. So, I mean, I guess that's good. But on the other end, that also means that you're averaging a high separation from receiver to you. So that's not so good. That one bothers me a little bit, guys. His catch rate allowed is 64.6%. Still a little too high for my liking personally. His passer rating allowed is 128. Way too high for my liking. That's way, way too high. Here's the crazy thing. He wasn't targeted that much. Okay? So who knows how good he was overall in his coverage. You'd have to really consult film because he was only targeted 17.6% of plays. But when he was targeted, he's giving up a 1.84 target separation, 51 catches, 776 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's given, 64% of the time when they actually throw the ball his way, he was giving up the reception. Actually 65 if you want to round it up. And he gave up a passer rating of a 128. You got to really weigh this because he wasn't targeted a lot, but when he was targeted, the quarterbacks were very successful. So his overall coverage rating was a negative 5.1. This is the enigma of Chris Harris Jr. I don't like this move personally, but I do understand why someone could look at that target separation. I'm sorry, not target separation. I apologize, guys. Could look at that target rate and say, hey, you're underestimating how good this kid is. I get that, but I'm not comfortable personally. All right, our third and final trade target for the evening. Darius Slay from the Detroit Lions. 6 foot, 192 pounds, 32 and 1/4 inch arm length. He is 29 years old, and he runs a 4.36 40. He's got that speed, guys. He will help cover those faster, quick, shifty receivers. I do like that aspect about Darius Slay. But just like all three of these guys I'm going to name, there are some very positives, and I do think Darius Slay is by far the best of this group we're talking about today. But there's some negatives to his game, too, where you're kind of like, ugh, like, I don't know. All right, let's get into it, guys. Snap share. So when he was in games, he played 81.6% of snaps. His targets allowed were 89 or 6.8 a game, so he was targeted. I mean, it's 7 a game, 89 targets overall. His target rate was at 22.6%, so because he was in on so many different routes defended, at least his target rate was below 25%, and that to me is always respectable. If you're below 25%, it means that you're not being victimized, picked on. His routes defended were 394 or 30.3 a game. Target separation. As you can guess, a guy with 4.36 speed doesn't give up too much separation. 1.07. His receptions allowed, 49 or 3.8 per game, so 4 a game. He gave up 704 yards, or roughly 54.2 a game. He broke up 13 passes, gave up 2 touchdowns, and picked off 2 balls. The kid's got ball skills. 2 interceptions, broke up 13 passes. His target separation is only 1.07. He's got 4.36 40 speed. I mean, there are some physical attributes to this kid that make you go, okay, like the skills are there. He's got the skills. Burn rate, 3.4%. Doesn't concern me that much, guys. I mean, anytime you got an aggressive corner, you're going to get burnt here and there. It's part of the gamble. You want aggressive corners, you're going to give up plays at times. His catch rate was 55.1%, so he's below that 60% threshold. That's a positive always in my eyes. I think there have been other guys we've covered on this list who are probably a little better at fighting for the football than him, but he's not horrible at this. This is not like a major, knock against him. His passer rating was a 91.5, and his overall coverage rating was a positive 32.4. So the kid can play football. That's Darius Slay, guys. All right, guys, so to end today's video, once again, Stephen Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, guys, do me a favor and subscribe to that channel. And your question of the day. I gave you these 3. These are the 3 most common trade targets that are mentioned to me personally. My favorite out of these 3 would be Darius Slay. I'm not sold on Logan Ryan. I'm not sold on Chris Harris Jr. personally. But you guys tell me your opinion. The question of the day. Out of these 3, who's your 1? Who's your 2? Who's your 3? Your third option. Me, Darius Slay. If you're pulling my arm, Chris Harris Jr. And if we're just desperate and we need to bring a veteran body presence in to help with the secondary, but is not going to play maybe as pivotal role as fans or people would like, then maybe Logan Ryan. But I would feel comfortable passing on both Chris Harris Jr. and Logan Ryan personally. I do like Darius Slay, but I do think there might be better options out there. To me, the question with Darius Slay becomes length of contract and this aspect and idea of would it be cheaper to trade for a guy who's already under contract and have to sign one of these free agents, basically. Now, I will say this. In the next 2 videos I will do over the course of the week here, guys, I'm going to talk about other options, okay? I'm going to give you a surprise target. I have a surprise target on here who I think is a very good young player that, boy, oh boy, if the team's willing to trade this guy, I'll take him in a heartbeat. But I'm going to go over, a video tomorrow. I might make it into 2, maybe 3 videos. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe tomorrow I'll just fit these next 4 guys into one video. But we're going to keep going with this, guys. We're going to talk about trade targets at the cornerback position. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all know how much it means to me. Once again, thank you so much. And, oh, yeah, you know what time it is. EAGLES. All right, y'all. Let's go, Eagles.